Hey everyone, it is Wednesday, May 6th, and I'd like to welcome you all to our snack break today. I'm Jen Stone from Source, and I'm going to give you a quick orientation of the webinar tool itself before I introduce our guest today. You are muted automatically, but that doesn't mean that we want to be the only ones doing the talking. You all have access to the live chat. You can send a message and questions to the whole group. If you have trouble viewing the audio or viewing the presentation or with the audio, feel free to check the box to send privately. Go ahead and test out the chat now by saying hello or let us know what you're snacking on. Feel free to chat in your questions anytime during the presentation. If we don't answer in real time, we'll make sure to cover it during our Q&A at the end of the presentation. You can also adjust the ratio of the video to slides by dragging the black slider underneath the speaker video. Also, a recording of the webinar will be sent to you after we wrap up the live event. So if you miss anything or if you want to share it with a friend, you'll be able to do that. All right, now I'd like to introduce today's guest, John Gallup from Laticrete. John is the rep for Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Idaho, Montana, and Utah. He'll be showing us an overview of Laticrete's Masonry Veneer installation system. John, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jen, and thanks so much for having me and hosting Laticrete and hosting me and putting this together.
Yeah.
Great to be here. As we were talking before the presentation here, I'm excited and I love Source. It's been great to collaborate and work with you guys, so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And what are you snacking on, John?
So in keeping with snack break tradition, yes, a couple things here real quick. And this is a total local Portland and Oregon snack. My beverage is Soma kombucha from our friends at Soma in Portland. They actually have a tap room in St. John's and one in Belmont, Southeast. And then my snack today is a Live Bar from our friends at Live Bar Products in down the road from you, Jen, in Salem, Oregon. So
nice.
Thought I'd give a plug to both those companies. I really enjoy their products.
Oh, that's great. I've just got some modest popcorn and some tea. Just keeping it simple over here.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you already sent out the download to the audience of your catalog and then the industry standard. So you guys go ahead and check that out. But yeah, if you want to kind of take it away and
certainly
give us some background and tell us what you're presenting.
Sure. Well, thank you. And I did, to Jen's point, I did just share a couple of documents with you in PDF format. One is our NCMA industry standard, which sets forth the guidelines and the product requirements for thin veneer masonry installations, which we're going to be talking about today. And the second download is our proprietary Laticrete masonry veneer installation system product profile. So take a moment, download both of those documents, and if you have any questions, certainly you can follow up with me. So let's get right into it here. We've got our landing page here, and you'll notice Jen and I were talking about this. I don't have any pets at home, but I am an avid hiker, and I took this photo on our landing page of North Cascades National Park. So any pets that I have, I actually discover on my hikes in the Pacific Northwest and out on the hiking trail. So looking forward to getting back to that as we gradually reopen the parks in the Pacific Northwest. That slide, by the way, is at North Cascades National Park.
Oh, it's so nice.
Just as an overview here, Laticrete has a very broad product range. Many of you may know the Laticrete brand from our touch in the tile and stone product channel. We have a number of setting mortars for ceramic tile grouts. We've got a new disruptive technology that I'll touch on at the end of this presentation. But today, we're going to focus on what I manage for the Pacific Northwest, and that's our masonry veneer installation system. So I've got a pretty deep background in this specific product channel. If you look at our second slide here, you know, one of the touch points on this presentation is the fact that We have a lot of thin veneer masonry out there, particularly cultured stone, manufactured stone, and natural stone veneers. And in a lot of cases, these finishes are not installed with the right material. They're installed with, in a lot of cases, a traditional type S or type N mortar, which is specified. And that, according to the NCMA industry standard that I've shared with you, is not the appropriate material. So Laticrete goes to market with formulated, bagged materials that are polymer modified that meet the shear bond values for a thin veneer masonry application. I like to kind of address it this way. If you think of thin veneer masonry, the approach in terms of application is very similar to a ceramic or natural stone tile. Well, we wouldn't install ceramic or natural stone tile with a type S or type N mason's mortar. Those products are both designed to both join and separate full unit masonry. They don't maintain the shear bond values for a thin veneer approach. Hence the Laticrete MVIS masonry veneer installation system. So if you look at this second slide here, this is a showcase project for us that is not at all far from Source's office across the river. This is the Louisa Flowers project. It was designed by our friends at Lever Architecture in Portland. It was built by Walsh Construction, and B&B Masonry was the masonry sub that completed all of the thin veneer, thin brick, in this case, installations using our MVIS system. So this was installed with our high bond mortar and finished with our masonry MVIS pointing mortar. This is all over a fluid applied our Laticrete air and water barrier, which I'll touch on here in some upcoming slides. So some beauty shots here. On the left, we have some natural stone veneer, also installed with the Laticrete MVIS system. So this is a focused product profile, but it's capable of installing a range of thin veneer masonry materials, including thin brick, which we see here on the Louisa Flowers project on the right, and natural stone veneers on the left. So we do a lot of collaboration with not only architects and designers and masonry contractors, but also the stone quarries. So we will collaborate with the stone manufacturers, be it natural stone or cultured stone or thin brick. I will say at this point that we also distribute through Mutual Materials, who's based in Durham. They have a main corporate office in Durham, and their main office is in Bellevue, Washington, east of Seattle. So we're very proud and honored of that distributor manufacturer relationship that we maintain with them. So they certainly keep me busy, that's for sure. The thin brick, by the way, that you see on this Louisa Flowers project here was all sourced from our friends at Mutual Materials. So what types of applications are best suited for this project? Any thin veneer masonry. On the left here, we see a thin brick installation. This too, by the way, this project is at 19th and Northwest Johnson in the Pearl District. Jen, not far from the Source office. This is a system that's inclusive of the Laticrete fluid applied air and water barrier. If you look at this photograph on the left, you can see kind of this olive muted green layer. This is a fluid applied waterproofing and air and water barrier. This is our material. You can see the anti-fracture tape embedded in it at the expansion joint. This is a roll-on application. This too was completed by B&B Masonry. And you can see the thin brick here installed very similar to a tile assembly. Okay, so this would get finished out with our MVIS pointing mortar to fill out the tuck joints, the grout joints, so to speak, in the assembly. If you notice here on the lower right, if you can see this photograph, you'll see some bats of mineral wool insulation. So this assembly essentially was a girt system that had mineral wool embedded into it for R value, and then we skinned that mineral wool with a cement backer board. So the substrate you see here on the left that's coated with our air and water barrier is actually a 100% cement backer board. So again, this is very similar to a tile type of assembly. So if there are no questions on that, we'll keep moving forward. But do we have any questions at all thus far?
I don't think so. I don't see any coming through yet.
Very good. And I will say too that all of our setting mortars, in this case, we used our Laticrete MVIS thin brick mortar, are formulated for the specific type of masonry finish that is specified, be it thin brick, natural stone, or a cultured stone. Some of the more robust, unit sizes for like cultured stone and natural stone require a mortar that has better non-sag characteristics than just a base model thin brick mortar. And we have those products in both our high bond and more particularly in our masonry veneer mortar product profile.
We did have one question come through.
Sure.
Can you talk about specifically what a masonry veneer is? They're just asking for a friend.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. A masonry veneer, let's talk about thin veneer masonry in proximity to full unit masonry. A thin veneer masonry installation is, or product, I should say, is a maximum 2 5/8 thickness, and it is applied with in a direct bond fashion to the substrate. So in other words, you're taking your thin veneer unit, again, be it natural stone, cultured stone, or thin brick, and we are either back troweling that unit with bond coat, or we are notch troweling onto the substrate our bonding mortar, and we're bonding directly to that substrate. We like to see the air and water barrier included over the front face because that's going to do a number of things, not limited to providing some crack isolation. And it's also going to be a great remediation layer against efflorescence. When you see those white streaks, and we see it quite frequently in the Pacific Northwest, where you see those white streaks that weep down the face of any type of masonry, thin brick or natural stone or cultured stone, we can mitigate that with the air and water barrier. So going back to the question, a thin veneer masonry is essentially a thin veneer up to 2 5/8 inch thick that is directly bonded with the appropriate bond coat to the substrate. As that compares to full unit masonry would be something like full brick, full dimension stone that is stacked more in a typical masonry rain screen application, where you have brick ties and you've got a more conventional, brick wall, curtain wall application. I will say that because of the versatility that thin veneer masonry provides, we can put thin veneer on the same plane of the wall, the facade of the building, and we don't require building components like a brick ledge, for example, that a traditional full unit masonry rain screen would rest on at grade. We don't require the lintels and red steel that is structurally required to support full unit masonry. We can simply, as this project here in the Pearl District shows, we can essentially skin that the facade of that building with a much lighter weight cement backer board and bond our thin veneer masonry right to the face of it. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, can you tell us what a cultured stone is?
Certainly. So as it compares to natural stone, I think natural stone speaks for itself. A natural stone
Oh, I think he might have frozen. Are you guys having a hard time hearing John? Yeah. Hey, John, I'm gonna turn off my video. If you could do the same, we might get better signal.
Are you there, Jen?
I'm here.
Okay, let's try this. So a cultured stone is a manufactured stone. It's a cast in place, normally made out of a concrete slurry or an aggregate Portland cement slurry. In some cases, depending on the manufacturer, it will have a coating broadcast onto it, or the cast in place material will be pre-pigmented to offer a color rendering. But that's the difference between a cultured stone or a natural stone. A cultured stone is what's referred to as a cultured stone is a manufactured material, man-made material, whereas a natural stone is quarried from the earth.
Perfect. That's super helpful. Thanks, John, for
Great,
explaining that.
great. Did we have any other questions on?
No, I don't see any other questions. If you want to move forward, I think we're good.
There is one product here, and we've got a couple of minutes here, and I'm going to kind of set a preview of coming attractions here. As I indicated, Laticrete has a very broad range of materials. Many of you associate the Laticrete brand with our tile and stone installation systems. And I wanted to touch real quick on a new exciting product we have called Laticrete SpectraLock 1. SpectraLock 1 is a tile grout. This is what's referred to in the industry as a single component grout. It's a bucket grout. It's pre-mixed. There's no mixing required. We're not going to create dust on job site through mixing. This is a very low VOC material, and it's a resinous product. It maintains, and here's the really good news, it maintains all of the performance values in terms of chemical and bacterial resistance that an epoxy grout would maintain, without the fuss and the working characteristics, the burdensome working characteristics historically of an epoxy grout. Epoxies historically, we get a lot of pushback from the tile contractors that don't like working with them because they're very sticky, they're very tough to pull the grout haze off the finish, depending on the porosity of the finish or the glaze on the tile. SpectraLock 1 is far from that. We have, again, both the performance values of an epoxy, but more in line with the working characteristics of a conventional cement grout. We now have this product in the wild, and we've got contractors using it, and the feedback we've gotten initially from Laticrete has been overwhelmingly positive. At some point, Jen, and I'll make this offer to Source and to you, we would love to have Paul Luttrell, our product specialist on tile and stone installation systems, come in and showcase this material along with all of our other new exciting products in the Laticrete tile and stone installation channel.
Yeah, that would be great. I love Paul. He's an amazing resource for designers and architects, and yeah, has such a good range of knowledge. And that sounds like an amazing product that, especially for commercial installations, was music to my ears. That's
well,
great.
It looks like we've got just under a minute left, and I will leave you with the fact that not only does Laticrete maintain a full product profile and technical resources related to masonry veneer installation systems, tile and stone installation systems, but also resinous epoxy floor coatings and concrete remediation and floor surface prep for things like self-leveling underlayments. I guess what I'm saying is our designer and architectural audience can utilize the Laticrete brand as a single source resource for everything related, again, to tile and stone, masonry veneers, floor prep, and resinous coatings. So with that, if there are no other questions, again, Jen, I really appreciate being here. I've been excited to be a part of Snack Break, and have really looked forward to this. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Paul. We actually have one more
Great.
question that just came through. Do you have specs and details available?
We do. Jen, when we depart here, I will send you the link to our architectural guidebook. You will be amazed at what a robust architectural guidebook we have, and you can literally enter in the condition and the requirements of your specific assembly. And our architectural guidebook is set up to feed back to you the information in terms of a CAD, not just a specification section, but also a CAD detail relating to the assembly, and also all the product data sheets. So I'm glad you asked that. And Jen, I'll send you the link to that when we conclude here, and hopefully you can get that out to our audience today.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, thanks, John.
Sure, my pleasure.
Yeah, well, if anyone has any other questions, throw them in now. And just a quick reminder, you're all going to be sent a recording of this video after we wrap up. And that tomorrow we're going to be hosting Matthew Beats from Quarter 20. So be sure to tune in. Of course, you can go to tothesource.com to register for upcoming snack breaks and watch archive videos there. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for joining. I don't see any other questions come in. So have a great day. Happy snacking.
Happy snacking.
Thanks a lot. All right, take care,
Thanks
everyone.
so much, Jen. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Bye now.
Bye.